The bandwidth for this episode of the AR-15 podcast is sponsored by the Firearms Radio Network. Firearmsradio.tv.
Welcome to episode number 103 of the AR-15 podcast. I'm your host, Reed Snyder, and with me today is my co-host, Anthony Hardy. This is the podcast about your favorite black rifle. This is the show for you, whether you're building your first AR or you've been building ARs for years. There is something we can all do to take our black rifle to the next level. Anthony, how are you doing tonight?
If I can get myself off mute, I'll be doing even better.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I don't have a problem with my mute button, which I'm sure some of the listeners are upset to know, but there you go.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
We want to let the listeners know tonight we are going to be taking care of two things. First and foremost is we will be announcing our runner-up winner for the AR-15 that we're giving away. It was generously and graciously sponsored by Brownells. And we also want to let you know that we have been doing some extra work in the last month trying to get, ahead of the 8-ball and get some good content recorded. We've had an opportunity to talk to some people that are coming up in the firearms industry, some people who are well established, and we just want to get those interviews done and get a nice little cushion of shows. So this will be the first, delayed interview that we've done. We've pre-recorded. We've already recorded the interview, and we wanted to share it with you. But of course, as the weeks go by, we want to make sure that we're updating you with the current feedback and the current things that are going on in the show. So that's what this introduction and our lead out on the show is going to be all about. This is our Oreo cookie to the Oreo filling. So,
and it's some good filling too.
With that in mind, we want to remind you that it is Brownells who helps make this show possible. So don't forget that Brownells, with their 100% lifetime satisfaction guarantee, is there for you anytime you have a problem, like when you can't remove the taper pins from your new barrel. So slip off the front sight base and you now have to find a new barrel, which we, of course, had to do with our AR-15. So, we want to remind you, shop for all of your AR-15 parts at Brownells, and to do so, you can go to ar15podcast.com/parts, and when you do that, you will be helping the show out, and that will help the network continue to bring you good quality content every week. So, with that in mind, we would like to have you talk about the product of the week, Anthony. What do we have here?
I picked the GI style sling, and I know you guys, we had a big sling show, and so we've already gone over a whole lot of that stuff, but this GI style sling that's over on Brownell's website is about, looks like about $14. And, you know, we've had this discussion before. I'm a new guy at shooting, and I know, Reed, you were a huge proponent of using the sling, and mentioned last week that I was going out to Appleseed over the weekend, and I actually did get out there for both days and had quite a lot of fun. 500 plus rounds downrange, and I really learned how to properly use the sling. So I decided to pick that for the product of the week because once I properly learned how to use the sling, it was amazing the difference in the stability of the rifle. You know, and I remembered Reed talking about, you know, having getting slung up and really getting a lot of good tension on that sling and cutting off some circulation when he was back in the Marines. And yeah, I can see where that would certainly happen if you get it tightened up just right. But man, the first day I was trying to use the cheap little sling that came with the Bushmaster, and you know, the thing was cutting into my hand really bad because it's really cheap nylon and stuff, and it wasn't working right for me. And I also was hunching my shoulders, I found. So especially that left-hand shoulder, because I'm a right-hand shooter. You know, that left-hand shoulder that holds the rifle up there, it's got the sling around it. I was hunching that shoulder, which put all kinds of muscle tension all through my arm. And I did not see any benefit whatsoever to using the sling. I was shooting some of the worst groups of my entire life that first day. And I could not figure out what in the world. I know I'm not great, but I'm not this bad. I'm really not this bad. And finally, about halfway through the second day, I realized, hang on, my shoulder hurts. Why does my shoulder hurt so much? Because I'm tensing up the entire time I'm trying to shoot. And got rid of that sling because it did not operate properly. Got a GI sling that one of the local guys there lent to me, Tim. He's they call their Apple Core. He is actually on site at the range and arranges everything, sets up the match beforehand, and helps make sure everything goes properly. And Tim lent me one of his slings and got that put on the rifle and put it in what they call the hasty sling, I guess. Is that right, Reed? Is that what they called it before? It's strapped around your upper forearm and down into the rifle, and wrapped it up in the same way, you know, getting it on the backside of your hand and relax that shoulder.
Yeah, that's the way we did it, but there was a whole lot of cursing. I don't think I ever remembered the word hasty or sling.
Yeah, so I got that thing wrapped up and got down in prone and looked down the sights, and the red dot wasn't moving. It's like, all right, something's bright here. Holy cow! It's just rock solid. And you breathe, and it would move very smoothly up and down. I'm like, this looks like a video game. Is that where that comes from? And suddenly everything started tightening up. My score improved, I think, by 50 some odd points on the target. You know, I know I did not get expert rifleman, but I won't even talk about the other issues I had. I had some optics issues and all kinds of other things. So I'm going to be going back in February. But yeah.
I thought your biggest issue was that an 11-year-old girl outshot you.
You were good. I knew you would bring that up. Yeah, there was a father and daughter pair there, and his 11-year-old daughter went to her first Appleseed. I guess it was just a few months ago, and had never shot rifle before. He brought his Smith & Wesson M&P 1522, let his daughter shoot it. She shot rifleman at her first Appleseed, and continues to shoot like in the 220s. I think a 210, I think, was expert rifleman. So she's shooting expert rifleman, and she's an 11-year-old girl, and sitting there walking around, and it was amazing to watch this little thing walk around. I mean, she'd walk around, and there would be a guy, and she'd walk up next to him and go, you know, if you would just relax, like this muscle right here, if you would just do this, if you kick your leg up a little bit more when you're prone, and believe it or not, everybody listened to her because she was shooting better than just about anybody else there. And they would make those adjustments, and suddenly their shot placement would get better. So not only was she good herself, but she was also a very good little instructor too. So yeah. But anyway, I picked the sling because I was really interested to find that it made such a big difference, and it was specifically that GI style sling that allowed you to use those sling in multiple different positions in you know, standing, sitting, prone, kneeling, all that kind of stuff. And also have different ways to sling yourself up. So it's made for that, specifically for that. And man, I have a new appreciation for the sling. I really do.
Well, outstanding. Well, I tell you what, we'll be back in just a sec with our interview. We're talking to Jeff Weaver from Prevision Ear tonight, and it'll be myself, Anthony, and JW. So we'll see you on the other side. So joining us tonight is Jeff Weaver from Prevision Ear, and we've been hearing a lot of buzz about Prevision Ear, and Jeff has kindly graced us with his presence so we can pick his brain, bend his ear, and find out a lot more about what it is he's doing over there at Prevision Ear and what Prevision Ear is all about. Jeff, thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm sorry, Reed, I can't hear you. I've got some hearing protection and some custom-made hearing protection. What was that?
Excellent, I love it.
Well, Jeff, tell me a little bit about who Jeff Weaver is.
Well, thank you, Reed. You know, I'm just I'm a gun guy. I'm a common guy just like yourself. I've always had that entrepreneurial desire to work for myself. I've tried to look for that one particular thing that not everybody's doing. You know, I don't want to have a lawnmower in the back of my truck and be that lawn jockey like everybody else. So I spent 22 years in the military as a howitzer section chief, standing next to a M1908 howitzer. And guys, I never wore one time any hearing protection standing next to that thing. And if you've shot a 30-30 or 30-06 or a 50 cal, that's nothing compared to those 1908s. So if I have to ask you to repeat or speak a little bit louder, bear with me on that, because I've lost my hearing protection over the years. I shoot competition. I love guns. My son and I shoot competitions, and you know, I saw on need for custom hearing protection. I love the fit, the feel, the comfort, everything that we can do with custom hearing protection. And so I got into the custom hearing protection business and started the company Prevision Ear about 2 years ago. I'm a local law enforcement officer, so I work with you know, radio pieces and ear pieces and SWAT guys, EOD guys. So there's in every aspect of life, guys, there's a need for custom hearing protection, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to put that in your listeners' ears, give them something that's extra special and gives them that protection that they need.
Well, you know, I think that's an interesting point, because you mentioned how universal it is, and you know, I'm thinking in my mind, you know, how many times that JW sends us a picture when he's, you know, off on a job site, and JW's an engineer, and I'm telling you, he's standing next to some gigantic machines doing some, you know, giant task, and there he is in his safety equipment, and sure enough, he's got a big set of, you know, ear protection on him. So, you know, I wonder if maybe we can point this out to him when we get a chance to see him next.
Absolutely, absolutely do.
Well, Jeff, tell me, what do you think it is that separates the good hearing protection from the bad hearing protection? I mean, obviously, 22 years in the armed forces, you know, you've got as extensive a record with firearms as I'm sure the rest of us have. We've seen the dogs all day long. What is it that separates the good from the bad when it comes to hearing protection?
You know, that by far, by any means, any shadow of the doubt, custom is the way to go. We've all worn those, you know, little I'm looking for the word, the little foamies that we roll up between our fingers and we stick in our ears. We've taken the cigarette butts, we've taken the shells, you know, and picked them up off the ground, and we've tried anything. We wear the hot, sweaty cans in the heat of the summer, and we're out trying to shoot a competition. We're out trying to work through a couple different weapons platforms, and we're wearing those big, huge, hot cans. If you've been seeing anything lately, guys, you'll see not only are those things hot and huge and uncomfortable and cumbersome, and you can't really hear unless you're using some of the electronic ones. You can't really even hear that well, but the bacteria that's growing in those things, if you take a look at them, if you don't clean them out, that's pretty nasty stuff. The beauty of custom hearing protection is it's molded specifically for your ears and your ears only. You're not going to be able to give them to your wife. You're not going to be able to give them to your daughter, because what we do is we inject medical grade silicone into your ear. We take an impression of your ear, and then we manufacture your custom made hearing protection specifically for you. So there's by no means anything better than custom molded, custom made hearing protection, because it's when we talk about a total occlusion of your ear, those foamies that we talked about, we've all been there, we've all done that, where we thought we had those incorrectly, and we get what we call blow by, and it's not completely occluding your ear. There's a gap or a tunnel that goes straight to your eardrum, and when you fire that weapon off and you go to grab your ear because it just about blew out your eardrum, then we know that one size fits all universal hearing protection isn't going to work. You're going to have to take it out. You're going to have to reposition it, and you're still possibly not getting that protection.
So Jeff,
So
I'm kind of getting from you it's the fact that when you have the custom fit, you have something that is going to fill up every space of the ear canal, as opposed to like my headphones. When I'm sitting out there on the range, I'm using a set of Howard lights, and I wear glasses. They come in under the pads, and then I do some. I guess mostly it's rifle shooting, and you get under there, and you got that stock getting up under your cup there. So
I hate that.
I mean, obviously, that's every part of that whole setup that I'm using is making an opening for sound to travel past and around the protection. And so would you say that that's the key, the fact that custom molded fit just completely seals up that whole ear canal?
absolutely, absolutely. Well, you said it best yourself. A lot of us have to wear glasses, and we have to be able to manipulate different weapon systems, and exactly what you're talking about is exactly what happens to people. You've basically created that gap or that blow-by that we just talked about. There's that air pocket that can get through there, that sound and sound decibels and sound waves. Man, they'll find the smallest of opening and get in there. So when you have those glasses on, or you have those big hot sweaty cans that we often wear out on the range, and you're trying to get exactly what you talked about, that cheek weld, and you have to go down a little bit farther to get that perfect cheek weld and side alignment picture that you're looking for, and it tips that hot can away from your ear or the side of your head, and that shot rings out. You basically just exposed yourself to some pretty damaging sound. So absolutely, that is exactly, you couldn't have said it better yourself, exactly why custom molded hearing protection is just far better.
Now
Not only is it,
Go ahead, Jeff.
go ahead. No, I was going to say, not only is it that, but it's the comfort level. The different product lines that we offer that we can talk about. It's that comfort level. It's that total occlusion of your ear. It's being able to wear these things 6-8 hours on a range, being able to stand there and talk to the person next to you and hear them and communicate with them without having to change your battery out on your digitals or your electronics, or take your hearing protection on or off and somebody rings out a shot. You can wear these things, guys, all day long, and you're going to forget they're in there, but you're going to be protected the whole time.
That's my biggest problem, with a set of ears on, like my Howard lights. They're pushing the arms of my glasses into the side of my head, and an hour into a range visit, and I feel like I've got worn spots on the side of my scalp, like I'm getting ready to wear the arms right into the skull there. So it gets real uncomfortable for me real fast.
Well, and let's not forget the fact, like I'm wearing a hat right now, okay? And if you're wearing a set of earmuffs, those things have to have some decent tension to be able to hold tight over your ears. That means they're also having a bit of tension on the top of your head, and most hats have that little knob on the top of the hat, and that pushes down on the top of my head, and that kills me.
Yeah, well,
on top of everything else we've talked about, just the comfort level, and then they're pushing in on my ears, and my ears my ears get sensitive after about 2 hours with mine on. So, yeah.
And what happens when you take that break to adjust your glasses, or you want to get that pressure off, and you're standing next to that guy that's a 50 cal or a 30-06 or something, a high-end 7mm or something like that. You've got your protection off, and he rings off a shot, and he's within 2 or 3 feet from you.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yep.
Hey, Jeff, so tell me, when you made the decision that this was something that you wanted to try to do with that entrepreneurial drive, when you finally decided that hearing protection is something that you could just get up and go with, you kind of describe for me from that moment of knowing that's where you were going to head to how did you basically put together the sourcing for the products? How did you transition from concept to in the trenches having product being sold to people?
Well, that's a great question, Ree. There's a lot of companies. I say a lot of companies. It's certainly not like your lawn care companies or something like that. When I say there's a lot of companies, there's a select few of very good, confident companies out there. There's a lot of fly-by-night guys. There's guys that we see out there that do what we call frequency hopping, and that's some of the digital stuff that we'll talk about that we offer in our product line. But I got into this. I was at a gun show years ago, back when this probably first really came to light, and I had a set made, and I loved them. I fell in love with the comfort, the things that we've talked about, those levels of protection, and I fell in love with them, and then I lost them. And so in doing some police training for the police department, I fly in our aviation section. That's what we call a tactical flight officer. So I'm around a helicopter, and I've got to be able to take those noises out, but I've got to be able to listen to the radios and that type of thing. So I was out training with LAPD for a week, and at the end, a guy came there, and he was making some custom hearing protection for several of us tactical flight officers that were out there training, and I started talking to him. I started looking at his products. I started looking at what guys were saying. I didn't have a set made at that particular time, but I talked to some of the guys. I remember the set that I had years prior to that. I remember how well they fit and how comfortable they were, and those things that we've talked about, the cheek weld and the protection and having that. So I started looking into it. I started looking at the companies that were out there, and I came across an excellent company that it's called Westone, and they've been doing hearing protection, hearing aids, and different products for over 50 years. And I whittled it down to having gone and visited some of the laboratories and the facilities. I whittled it down to a couple, as we do, when we're looking for something, and I found them to be the best. I found their customer service, their products, their knowledge, their customer care, everything to be exactly what I would want if I were going out and getting this myself. So not only did they have the best of the best as far as the products, but the customer care and the guarantees that they offer, they allow me to offer my customers, and that is, if we put them in your ear, you're not completely satisfied, we're either going to take them back and rework them so that they fit exactly perfectly and they're the most comfortable hearing protection that you've ever worn, or we're going to give you your money back, no questions asked. And some of these other guys just don't do that. Their products aren't top of the line, and their guarantees are not there. You buy it, you're stuck with it. They're not going to work with you. They're not going to take it back and adjust it. They're not going to do the things that we're going to offer to you. So, it was that process of elimination of finding the company out there that was the best. I found them. We made a connection, and I was able to become one of two dealers for them. And then, the other side of that coin is, we're talking about laboratory-made ones. Is there's a product that we can do what we call on the spot, and that's a product if you happen to see us at a show or an event in your area, we have an on-the-spot product that it's the same medical-grade silicone, but we're going to inject it into your ear, and we're going to manufacture that earpiece. And I'm a cop by trade, a retired military veteran. That's not my forte. It's not rocket scientist, but we're going to make you a nice, cool, custom, comfortable, perfect piece of hearing protection. Not as good. I don't want to say there's any difference in the protection that we're going to give to you or provide to you, because again, it's about that total occlusion. But they're just a little bit bigger than the lab made one. So we found that instant company. We made that bond. We saw their products. We took a little of the instant, a lot of the lab. We put that together. We came up with Prevision Ear, and the beauty of it is we can run the gamut, from sleek plugs to swim plugs to shooting plugs to digital plugs, motorcycle plugs. There's not anything that we can't do. The thing that I love about it the most is these young kids, these kids that are going into the military, the teenagers, the high schoolers that are in the bands, that are in the swimming. We know people. We all know people that have had ruptured eardrums and things. So if we can change that outcome for when they're our age, they're in their mid 40s, early 50s, and they have, like myself, tinnitus, and I have a constant ringing in my ear, and I can't hear well, and I have to ask people to repeat things. If I can change that, that's what I'm about. I just know firsthand what it's like to be without my hearing, and it's like your sight, man. We don't want to lose it. So if I can protect someone now, I feel good.
Now, Jeff, let me ask you. It sounds like an audiologist would order from a lab the things that it's going to put into a patient's ears to help them hear. You're basically serving the role for a shooter in that you've spec'd out lines and products, and you have someone that makes them for you that you provide for a shooter, and you've also added to that kind of an on-demand instant line. So I mean, is that pretty much the way that it works there?
It is. It is. There's certainly two totally different product lines, and exactly what you said, that the instant, on what we call instant or on the spot, is the same medical grade silicone. We're going to do some things, the same antimicrobial coating that's put on at the lab, we're going to put onto it. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to get it close to that lab, but it's one that we're going to make for you on the spot. So it's a lot of guys come to gun shows or do different events, and I've been there, done that. We're a cash and carry kind of guy. We want to pay cash. We want to carry something away with us. So
right.
We're going to be able to offer you that product. The first and foremost thing that we here at Prevision Ear want to do is want to see what your needs are. Are you just a shooter that shoots once or twice a month, or are you a shooter that is an avid shooter and you're out there every weekend, or are you a shooter that shoots 3 or 4 times a month but works an industrial job where you have to wear custom hearing protection, or you have to wear hearing protection at your work? Do you use them at the house? Do you have a wood shop? We're going to kind of take all those things and we're going to put them all together, and then we're going to put you in the best product that we can. We're not going to stick you in something. If you're in a high noise environment at work, but then you go out and shoot, we're not going to stick you in something that's going to cover you at work but not cover you on the range. So the custom-made, custom-fit hearing protection is totally customizable, from the filters that we put into it to the particular product that we're going to put in your ear. And there's so many different things that we can do with them. That's the beauty of the custom-made.
Now, so tell me, as far as your product line goes, when you expand it, is that driven a lot by your consumers, or are you just anticipating what it is you think they're going to want?
It is consumer driven. There's a baseline product. I kind of mentioned earlier we can do swim plugs and sleep plugs and all these different plugs that we can do, but we specialize pretty much primarily in the shooting aspect, the law enforcement aspect of the hearing protection. We have a music line, that are custom-made stereo drivers in your ear, from anywhere from 1 to 6 drivers, custom-made earbuds, Beats, Beat 2 is what we like to say, because, man, if you think Beats are good, then check out some of our music products. They're just phenomenal. So we've got that spectrum, and that kind of goes back to Reed, what I say. I have somebody see us out there doing impressions. They'll, hey, what are you doing? And it may be some young man's wife that says, God, I love this guy to death, but man, he snores like a dang grizzly bear, and I can't sleep, and I'm always getting up, and he just bothers me, and so we're in separate beds, and that drives me crazy to hear that. But if I can put a product in their ear that's going to allow them to sleep together and sleep comfortably and get a good night's rest, well, then that's a good thing. So we offer those. We offer, again, from the swim to the sleep to the motorcycle, but we primarily focus on the shooter. So the spectrum is wide open. If you can think of any hearing protection that you ever need for any different, whether it's going to a concert, we look at the decibels. You guys talked about it in your last podcast, those decibel ratings of those concerts being up 120, 130 decibels, and it's a 2-hour-long concert. You could potentially walk away with permanent damage at a concert. So we've got plugs for that. We can send you to a concert and protect you. We've got universal across the board ones that'll work in several different aspects, from concerts to shooting to wood shops to industrial aspects. So I kind of went off on a tangent there, but it's wide open. It's wide open.
So right now, how are you guys getting your message out to shooters? Are you going out and finding them, in their natural habitat at the competitions, at the NRA show, SHOT Show, or do you find yourself, I think, being driven by the whole idea of social media and web pages and just talking to people through the internet, or is it a balance of those two extremes?
It's a balance, Reed. You said it yourself. It's a balance. I'll tell you, my social media skills need some improvement, and we're working on that. But it's through the internet. A lot of it is customer referrals. It's the the shows. I mean, we're doing a big PRI racing event here in Indianapolis this coming December. We're going to be at some local indoor gun ranges that have us as their custom hearing protection provider for their customer base. We tried to do the NRA show. That's kind of tough to get into, but we do a kind of a culmination of those. We've done some things where we've done a lot of competition shooting. We found that when guys are at competitions, they're really into that competition. They're not there to shop or buy things. So we started to steer away from the competitions. We do a lot of fundraising events. We found that we can reach our target market there. Our website has done really good for us. Getting on shows like yourself, the AR-15 podcast or some of the others that are out there, we've done well with those. So we're getting our name and getting this idea and this concept out there through all those sources as far as the social media and the shows and things.
So what do you think right now is the biggest driver? Would it be, like you said, the personal recommendations, the guys that talk to their buddies and say, hey, yeah, I've got a pair of these, it wouldn't do anything but?
That's a tough one. We're starting to really monitor our website, for the sales and the tracking of that. The website's done well for us. So, if you get an opportunity to check us out at precisionear.com, that's a huge way. The social media is huge. the Facebook and the Twitter and all those is really starting to ramp up for us. People are seeing us at shows. They're talking about us. That's a tough question. If I really had to dial down on one, I would probably say it's a toss-up between social media and getting out to events. When we get out to events, we're able to get the word out there. So it's kind of a cross. People see us, they talk about us, they love the protection, they love the things that they can do with them. They're getting away from the hot, sweaty cans and some of the different options that we can provide them. The customability, of these things it's incredible.
I've
You had mentioned
been through your website, and you got products that really are. It's a very broad lineup, and so at this point, do you think there's anything that you don't do when it comes to the hearing protection? Because just on the personal, I'm looking at an array of options that just it would encompass anybody's palette of hobbies. You mentioned them yourself. You've got motorsports, surfers, swimming, sleep, of course the whole line of shooting related. This is just amazing, and I wouldn't have even truly thought to go into any of these directions or some of these directions that you've got just incredible lines for. So is there something that you guys haven't covered that you're thinking, okay, this is where we're going next?
There is. There actually is. As I mentioned, I was a law enforcement officer. I've been doing that for about 12 years, and we want to be first to market on some new technology. There's what we call bone conduction technology, and then basically, as a law enforcement officer, a lot of officers nowadays are wearing what we call earpieces. We make custom earpieces for them that allows them to hear ambient sounds around them. So when this first came out and came to market, they were kind of like earplugs or the foamies that we talked about, and they totally occluded or blocked off hearing on one side of their head. So we're able to open that up. We're able to give them a better sense of officer safety and be able to limit, what's said on that radio. You're out working the street. A lot of these bad guys know certain codes for your area. That means they're going to jail. And if you've got that radio wide open and it's sitting there on your shoulder and everybody's listening to it, and you've got a guy sitting there who's not in handcuffs, and for our particular area we say 1099, that means he's wanted. Whether he's wanted, for something else or a child support or anything like that, he hears 1099, he knows he's not going home. So it's the fight or the flight is on, and that's not a good feeling. So we can take that, we can put it in that officer's ear, we can give him an officer safety perspective where that guy's not going to hear that. That's huge. But what we want to do with this bone conduction technology that's out there is that officer can transmit and receive all radio communications through a particular device or earpiece. Bone conduction is out there. It's not completely come to fruition on it. There's a lot of things that haven't made it. It's uncomfortable. It's got to be in a certain position. There's some ups and downs to it, but we want to be first to market on some of that technology and be able to put the transmitting and receiving all in one piece, because what they wear now is they wear an earpiece, they receive in their ear, but they still have to do that hand-to-mic motion, which means they have to talk through that mic. So, we're working on some technology there. One of my partners that I work with that kind of got me into this is big into the fighter pilots. He does a lot with the fighter pilots and the technology there. It came out with some amazing products for the fighter pilots. And so we've got some ideas to bring what we're using currently with the fighter pilots to the law enforcement and fire aspect of this. So to answer your question in a long-winded story, yeah, we're looking at some technology that can kind of bring that all together and make it safer for these guys that are out there. But at the whole time, you know, as you said, that product line that we offer, we've got it out there. So if someone sees us at a show or someone, you know, says, hey, man, I ride my motorcycle, but, man, that wind, I hear that wind, it's dragging across my ears, it bothers me, it gives me a headache, and I can stick a set of motorcycle plugs in their ears that are low profile, that take that wind noise away, make that ride just enjoyable for them and their partner, or I can put a piece in there that says, hey, you can talk to your wife on the back, still have that protection. Man, that's a win-win situation. Or for that little swimmer that's, you know, in grade school and swimming that has the perforated eardrums that needs that protection, we need to keep that water out of their ears, or that band member, we're going to be able to offer it. We specialize, like you said, in the shooting. That's my niche, but I love the fact that I can accommodate anybody and any hearing protection need that they have.
Well, you know, Jeff, I think that we've only just barely touched on your products. We've talked a lot more about the company, but tell me, when it comes to the firearms related lineup of your products, what can you tell me about the line that is not digitized versus the line that is digitized? And I guess that would be the Defend Ear and then the digital Defend Ear, right?
Absolutely. And basically there's a fine line in that, and that's the electronics. Any of our digital models, if you take a look at our website there at precisionear.com, you're going to see our digital models. The electronics are removable. Again, it's a custom earpiece made specifically for you and your ears, but it's got that Peltor component to it. So it's going to do the amplification and the attenuation all in one small, tiny little piece. And if you take a look at that and you see how small that is, it's really amazing. Now, that being said, there's a little bit of cost to that. Right. To make it so small. You know, we went from the old beta computers and the floppy disk, and as we dime things down and we make them smaller, and now we're carrying, you know, portable computers on our phones, and heck, I've got a smartwatch. It's a computer on my watch. You know, as we start to make those things down, there's a cost associated with that. So there's a little bit of cost. There's 3 different models that we offer right now, from a digital 1 to a digital 3. There's some a few things, game modes in there for constant shooting versus you know, some clay shooting and stuff. So there's options. It's like going and buying a car. You know, you want the car that's got the 255 AC in it, or you want the one that's got the onboard air conditioning where it's not 2 windows down and 55 miles an hour.
Right.
So
tell me on the digital lines, you have an array of pricing here, but you know, I'm looking at your base model, your Defender Digital 1, and can you tell us what the price point on that is?
Yeah, that price point starts out at right around $11.95. That is $1,195. Again, that's that price point that we talked about for the amplification and the attenuation. Our Digital 1 model is kind of our baseline model. One of the things that you'll see on the website there at precisionear.com is that high-end model, that $18.95 model. It's going to offer a couple different modes to it. It has a wind reduction mode on it. It has a game mode to it. So there's a couple different modes. That particular product's right around $18.95. You look at some of our competitors' pricing, we're still within range to our competitors, but the electronics, the fact that the electronics are removable, the fact that If you've got a partner and he shoots competition, maybe he's shooting, some steel matches and you're shooting IDPA, but you want to share a set of those, you can do that with our product. That's the fantastic thing about it. You each get a set of ear molds made, and you can swap those electronics back and forth amongst you, so that can virtually cut that cost in half. So as you see our models there, from the Digital 3, which is our high-end model and has those 3 different modes that we talked about, the wind reduction, you kind of step down from that. And our Digital 1 model, which again is our baseline model, what we've done is we started to notice that price point still was maybe a little bit much for the common shooter. A lot of professional shooters will use our high-end Digital 3 series or our Hunter series, but we wanted to reach out to those every weekend shooters, the ones that are shooting the IDPA and the 3-gun matches. And so what we found when we talked to people was that wind reduction mode that we have on there. Basically what that does is, if you're out and you've ever worn any of the Peltors or any of the electronic ear muffs, you're out on the range and the wind's blowing, you hear that wind blowing across there and it's irritating you, it's taken away from that match or what you're trying to do there. This particular wind reduction mode takes that away. You don't hear that. You're going to hear your amplification, you're going to hear your range commands or your buzzers, anybody talking, you can hear that guy, 4 or 5 people down away that can't believe how good of a shooter you are, and he's talking about you. You can hear all that. But when a shot rings out, you've got that protection. So they're going to amplify and then attenuate in just a fraction of a second. So that's kind of the long short of the digital. It's the amplification and the attenuation all on that small little package like you see there. It runs off a small hearing aid battery. Again, the electronics are removable, so you can clean your earpiece. You can sanitize that and have it ready for the next match.
I'm looking at the Peltor line, and really, on the upper end, you can get to a range that's pretty excessive. And it occurs to me that, we all have friends. We go to competitions. I'm sure every one of our listeners has been in one of those situations where a guy says, yeah, lowers are going on sale, or, if we, buy, our 5.56 and the 10,000 round quantities, we get a steep discount. Who wants to go in on a, big purchase? Just the ability to be able to swap out the electronics, and you're not having to put on your buddies cans where he's been sweating in them for the last 4 hours, and now you've got to deal with that kind of awkwardness. That's just a heck of an idea. Well, and really, when you get down to it, I think there is absolutely nothing that Peltor can do about the chief complaints that your hearing protection overpowers or overcomes, which is their custom fit, which Peltors aren't. They're just like every other set of hearing protection. They go over your ears. You don't have to worry about whether or not something is going to interfere with that seal that comes around your ears, because it's already custom fit to the inner part of your ear, and nothing is going to get into there that's related to firearms. So, I'm just not seeing that it's a downside that you're paying for good quality.
Well, you said it yourself. God forbid you've got that buddy that you have to have that need to borrow his Peltors, but he doesn't clean or sanitize that set of hearing protection that he's been wearing for 3 years, and he's got a mold or a mildew, or he didn't tell you about that liquid that's draining from his ears, throwing on your ears, and now you're hot and sweaty, and it's big and it's bulky, and it digs in on the top of that little cap that's on the top of your ball cap. And to make things worse, you go down for that cheek, the stock weld, and now you've created what we call is blow-by areas where you're getting that cheek weld and you're getting that ear infection. You're getting the hot, the sweaty, the bothersome feel from that, and then you pull the trigger, and now you've got the ear infection, you've got the hot sweatiness all on you, and you had an area of blow-by, and now you can't hear because you broke that seal, and you look at your shot and you didn't even hit the target. So now what do you got? You're just all across the board, and so the beauty of the custom fit, the custom molded hearing protection is it's not going to affect your stock weld. It's not going to get dirty and nasty and hot and bother you an hour into the range where you have to take it off, or you take it off to be comfortable for a second, and the shot rings out. Now you can't hear. I mean, there's so many variables to the big bulky cans that just drive you nuts. And then you look at Peltor's price. I mean, they're not cheap either.
No.
One of the things that we strived for in our digital ones was to stay within range of Peltor, and we think we're there. But if you take a look at the website at precisionear.com, you're going to see a new model that we're coming out with, which is a digital model. This thing's going to be a smoker for a seller. It's all this digital components that we've been talking about in a mini ear canal. It's an adjustable fit, but we're gonna get that total occlusion of your ear, but we're going to offer you the amplification and the attenuation at about half the price. We're going to hopefully be around the $500 to $600 range on those. And again, you can share them with your buddy. So we're constantly looking. Westone's constantly looking to make better, bigger, smaller, should I say, better products. And that's the beauty of this business is there's always something out there that's a little bit better, a little bit smaller, and a little bit better, and we think we're there.
Now, I'm looking at this, and I can understand that we've got a whole segment of our listeners that are going to say $1,100, $1,200, that's ridiculous. And I will tell you that there are certain things in the firearms world where I look at them and my thought process is, I like it. If I had money to waste, I'd buy it. But as much as I shoot, it doesn't make sense. And you can see I'm getting animated here. My screen's all wobbly. But you offer a line of products that fits that need ideally, and that's your non-digital line. So you've got a really, I think it's an outstanding price point for what you're providing, which is virtually comfort, absolutely comfortable, irritation-free, custom-molded hearing protection, but you don't have a giant electronics package sitting in it. So tell me
keep in mind what he said about some of those Defend Ear, the non-digital kinds, and I think you can show us some of those, Jeff, in just a moment. But with these, they're not just the plugs. It's not just a solid plug that's stuck in your ear. You've got those filters, right, Jeff, that allows you to still hear the ambient sounds, but keeps out the higher decibels, right?
Absolutely, we do. Let me, if you don't mind, just finish one thing about the digitals. And
sure, go ahead, Jeff.
You said it exactly yourself. Is there a price point to them? There absolutely is. I went out and dropped $1,400 on my son's Benelli M2 the other day. But there's something to that. He's 15 years old. He's shooting IDPA and he's shooting 3-gun. And if I stick him out there, I don't want to leave any opportunity for him not to hear something or for him to have an unsafe act. And so we share a set.
Right.
If I'm going to spend the money and send him out there in the best weapons, the weapons systems, he's got a custom-built AR from Devil Dog Arms, He's got the Benelli, he's got the SIG, he's got some Glocks. I want to make sure that I'm protecting his ears and that he can hear everything that's being said out there, whether it's range commands, it's a safety issue, it's to stop something from happening. So, there is a price point, but we all want the best. And it's not for everybody. It certainly isn't, and that's why we came out with our universal model. So, it's all in that perspective. Some of us want the best of the best. Some of us look, to drive a Cadillac or on a Fiat budget, and some of us have it. And that's the beauty of it is we want to be there for everybody, from the guy that shoots once a month to that competition shooter that's shooting every weekend. And that's exactly what you guys are talking about as far as our non-digital package.
Well, and
we can get there.
You said it before, even with the fully digital package, how often do you see repeat customers?
Right.
We don't.
And why?
Because you make a good
Because
product.
these are good. Well, yeah, we make a great product, not just a good product. We make a great product, but guys, these are designed to last your entire lifetime.
Right.
Whether you're in a digital product or you're in one of our Defend Ear convertible comms or solid products, guys, you're going to spend money one time and one time only. The only thing on a digital that you're going to spend more money on is to get some extra hearing aid batteries, but these are simply going to last you the rest of your life. There's only one caveat to that is don't leave them at the range when you go home.
I was going to say if you lose them, yeah. That would be me.
Well, and here's the thing, Jeff, that occurs to me. We've seen companies that will go out and they will appeal to the shooter that has $2,000 in their pocket to spend on something, but then they never go back to this huge segment of the shooting public that maybe can't get to that point, maybe can't afford it or can't justify it. And it seems to me that when they take a great idea and a great product and that has application for those guys and they don't make it available at a reasonable for the company way. I mean, some things you just can't make cheap. You can't make F-16s cheap for people to buy and use as commuter airlines for, weekend hops. But, you have a technology that in its core, like you were saying on the Defender Digital ones, that core mold is something that you can get. You can swap out the technology to another shooter that you're sharing the purchase on, but that core plug is the same technology that is in the line of the non-electronic plugs that you're selling. So, I mean, obviously you can sell the line, and the fact that you've opened up your product line to those consumers, to me, says you're not here to just make maximum return on a maximum sale and forget the rest. You're trying to appeal to the broadest number of customers so that you can protect some hearing and give them a good product so that we can all enjoy a sport that we're all passionate about. And that, to me, seems like the message that I'm seeing when I look at what you're doing.
It is. We want to appeal to the everyday shooter, to the new shooter, to the shooter that just brought his wife out and she's been introduced to shooting. We want them to have the same protection. And guys, you're going to get it from our on-the-spot, instant product that we can make, all the way up to our digitals, all the way up to our high-end music monitors that have 6 stereo drivers. The core concept around all this technology is that of the ear impression and the total occlusion of your ear canal and your ear bowl and the concha and everything that makes up that auditorial canal. That's the core concept of everything that we do, and that's where you're going to get that maximum protection. So, the options, the being able to add music to them, the digital models, all that stuff is built on that core concept of that custom molded protection, and that's where we start. We do have that product line that goes anywhere from $65 up to some of the high-end music monitors get up in $2,000 and $3,000. So, we're there for everybody. It's like me. Sometimes I want to drive that BMW, but I've only got that Ford Focus budget. So a lot of the options that you will see that we offer are buildable, and you can build upon them and add things to them, take away things to them. So we're here for every shooter in every aspect of this whole endeavor.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about your Defend Ear line, the non-digital components, and what would you say is your entry point, your entry-level Defend Ear product?
Our entry-level Defend Ear product, and when we say Defend Ear, guys, we're talking about things that that ear impression that we talked about. We're going to take that, we're going to send it to the lab, and we're going to have a custom manufactured piece for each one of our customers. So the Defend Ear line, when we say Defend Ear, is basically a laboratory-made earpiece, and the company that we use has been around 50+ years. They've been making these a long time, and so they're very professional and efficient in what they make. So you're going to get in at your Defend Ear solid is what our entry line. That's just a solid protection earpiece. You're going to be right around the noise reduction rating of 29 decibels. And it's going to give you, the maximum noise reduction available in that line. So, as far as that, it's going to have several different aspects. I know we can use it for shooting, and you can use it at the house mowing the grass, or working in the wood shop, or working that construction job where you're around all that heavy equipment all day long. That's the baseline model, and it maximizes the protection that you get, but it has a couple downsides to it, and that is, we've all had that hearing protection, whether it's cans or electronic cans or just regular earmuffs, where we're trying to talk like ourselves. We've been shooting a long time, military service, whatever you have. And someone's talking, but they're not talking loud enough so that we can hear them. So you have to take that can off, or you have to take that hearing protection off to say, "What'd you say?" And they repeat what you said, and then you have to put it back in, or put it back on, or put it back over your ear. So, one of the downsides to the solid is you're going to have to do that. It's going to give you that maximum protection, but you're going to have some difference there in being able to hear people. So that's kind of one of the downsides, and you take that model and you step up, to what we call a Defend Ear filtered. You're gonna lower your noise reduction rating on it, but
how much is that reduction going to change?
The beauty of these custom made pieces is we have flexibility with those inline filters that we were talking about. Okay. We can change that. So when we say that, all of them generally run along the same parameters, but we can dial down that filter a little bit. So, if you go into a filtered model, you're going to be right around the 21, 22 mark, right in there on the noise reduction rating, and that's got that inline filter in it. And what that allows is we can do a heavy industrial, or we can do a kind of a light industrial is a good way to look at it. We can dial that down a little bit. So if you're like myself, you got a little bit of hearing loss or tinnitus, you can dial down that filter a little bit, and it allows you to hear and communicate. So the beauty of that inline filter is that you don't have to take them out to talk. You don't have to take them out to say, "What did you say?" To hear range commands of that. So that filter is going to give you that protection if a shot rings out. you're going to have constant protection in your ear at all times.
Now that filter is not a digital component, right?
No, it's not. None of the Defend Ear models or series. Our only product line that we have that is digital, that does the amplification and attenuation that we talked about, is under our digital series. And you'll see that difference when you look at our website. We've got some downloaders that you can download and have the house to look at or share with a friend or something of that, and it breaks it all down there for you on that.
Right. So tell me, is that filter just like some specifically constructed piece of material that is inserted into the construction? I mean, is that essentially what we're talking about? It's kind of like we would put cotton balls in our ears. You have your hearing protection, and you put some special material in there that reduces sound to a degree that you're aiming for.
It certainly is. It's not rocket science. There's a couple different manufacturers out there, but the technology is all just about the same. It's all in the way that filter is manufactured, and basically the size of hole that it has that allows that sound. Whether it's a cone shaped or there's different ones that are kind of like a maze where the sound has to work through this maze to get through it. There's some that are kind of like a cone shape. So that's in the technology of the filter, and there's a few ones of those. But yeah, you're absolutely on point with that. That's what it is.
Okay. Well, so what's your next step up in the Defend Ear product line?
We've got a couple different the models. When we talk about the solid and then the filtered, we work into what we call the Defend Ear convertibles. And if you take a look at that website there at precisionear.com, what you're going to see is it's going to have two holes on the side of the earpiece, kind of like the filtered. But what the convertible does is you see the two holes in the side of the earpiece. The bottom one is basically a lanyard, and it's a lanyard that attaches to your coat or jacket or to your T-shirt, and basically secures the hearing protection to you. But that lanyard can be taken out of the bottom hole and moved to the top hole, and so we talked about the filtered aspect of it and the being able to communicate and hear range commands and that kind of stuff. But if one day we're shooting an IDPA match or any type of match, or we're just out doing some casual shooting with a buddy, but the next weekend we're going to go to an indoor range. We've all been there. We've all done that. There are cans for earmuffs or we go into an indoor range, and that echo and that reverberation of those gunshots, man, we can't get enough hearing protection on quick enough. What we can do is we can take that and we can move it from the bottom hole, which is again allows that to be a filtered plug, and we can now make it a solid plug, and we can raise that attenuation up into the 28, 29, 30 noise reduction rating. So we're able to change that. Just by simply moving that plug, we're able to raise that attenuation up and be able to make it bearable to be in an indoor range or next to a bigger piece of equipment.
So, what kind of accessories do you have? And I'm asking you a leading question because I've seen a few of them. But what can you couple with your convertible line?
We're talking about the convertible series. We step into what we call a convertible comm, and that comm is communications. We've got basically some single stereo drivers that we can add to those convertible comms that can allow you to plug into your iPod, your iPhone, your car. For lack of better words, if you wanted to plug them into your big old cans, your electronic cans, you could plug them into that. So that allows you to add music. add a telephone, be able to, work in an industrial environment where you may have to have two-way communication, two-way radios. You can pipe that into your ear and have that communication in your ear and be able to listen to, the radio as far as, work or just listen to it for enjoyment. We've got a lot of skeet shooters that want to be listening to music when they're out there shooting skeet. I can't do it. I've got to keep my concentration on the end of my sights, but they do it, and that's the beauty of it. Is again, the custom fit, custom molded. We can customize it with some music or any type of communication.
Every once in a while, I've thought it would be neat to be taking that great shot when you're at the range or on a hunting trip or when that shot is something meaningful and have that internal soundtrack playing the theme song for you.
Right, the Rocky soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, so that to me is kind of interesting. Now tell me, on your convertible comms, the component that you add to the earpiece to allow you to connect into that, like your iPad or your iPhone or whatever. Do you have the ability to actually connect that to a speaker, a voice component, so that you could use it as your hands-free while you're at the range, or while you stepped out of earshot of the firing line, and so if you had to have a phone conversation, you wouldn't once again have to pull everything out so you could talk?
We do. We've got an inline microphone that we can put on there as well, and allow you to do that, to be able to use it, just as a inline microphone for communication. Absolutely, we can do that.
Now, I know I've gone to my deer lease and I've sat down with my radio, two-way radio, and I've got the little attachment that sits on my ear so that every time somebody accidentally hits the call button and it goes quack 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 quack, nobody else, none of the deer can hear it. Do you have different connection points? Like, can you plug into the radios? And Motorola, I guess, makes a lot of two-way radios for hunters. You buy them at the Radio Shack and stuff. Do you have that kind of connections, or is it purely the one single, like the 1/8-inch plug style that you'd find on an iPhone?
Basically, when you talk about the 1/8-inch style, that's as commonly for most phones is what we call a 3.5 millimeter connector, and we do have that. There are some of the radios that you'll see that the older radios have a 2.5. The standard or the norm nowadays is generally a 3.5 millimeter connector, but we do that. We can do a 3.5, we can do a 2.5, we can do an inline mic, we can do both ears, we can do single ear. Again, we're going to meet your needs, and we're going to customize the whole gamut for you if need be, from color to filter to music to digital. We've got removable filters. This whole thing is a smorgasbord of ear delight.
Well, I tell you what, I would be happy to cut off the plug from those worthless ear pieces and give you about a good 2-foot lead of cable and send that into you, and you tell me if you can fit that into the inline mic and hearing protection, because I think I'm about tired of those. And if I could get a set of convertible comms with that plugging into there, I think that'd be the way to go.
And it is. Just know, when you take a look at our website, one of the things is you're not going to see that particular piece on there right now. One is we pulled it off because it's been on a back order, and that the manufacturers had a couple issues with the overseas market. I wish I could sit here and say it was American made, but we know that's in some of these cases is not the case. And so we pulled it off our website. it is something that we offer. Again, we can offer it in single ear or dual ear, with mic or without mic. Currently, you won't see it on our website, but if that's something that interests you, generally that runs from a single ear from about $85 up to both ears for about $110, $115. To a microphone, adds a couple bucks to it. If you don't see it on our website, you've heard us talk about it, you've seen somebody that has it, certainly ask us about it, and we'll keep you posted on when we get those back in stock and we're able to put those back on our website. But it is an option that we have. It's just not currently on our website because we were getting a lot of questions and that it was creating a lot of havoc for us.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. I'm looking at your brochure and I see the lines here. Tell me what the Defender Lite and the Defender Max offer in terms of variation on the bass line.
You're asking about the Defender Lite and the Defender Max?
Yes.
Okay. Again, it's all custom made. The Defender Max is a medical grade silicone. It's going to be a little bit more porous of a silicone, so when you have it, it's going to raise your attenuation a little bit. When we test these and you get that OSHA stamp on them, and generally you have to, as a company, you have to know that, hey, I know that this noise reduction rating's up in the 30-32, but to be safe, to be, the way that this unfortunate thing with people suing people over different things and it coming down to 1 or 2 points is the thing. So, know that there's going to be that range. You're obviously you're going to get a little bit better of noise reduction ratings depending on your environment. So when you talk about that, you're just talking a little bit of difference on the material that's made on those two products. So
like the Lite then would not be a lower profile, it would just be something that's going to have a little less protection. Is that going to that idea of a heavy industrial versus a light industrial versus somewhere in the middle idea?
It is, and it's all on that same concept. Just as you said, it's going to be a little bit of variation in the actual medical grade silicone that's used there. So it's a little bit lighter as far as overall weight.
Right.
And so there's just a few key components there that are going to make it a little bit different and change your noise reduction rating just a bit.
Now let me ask you this question, and this is something that I've experienced personally. Going into an indoor range where you might have a 100-yard lane next to you, you're shooting ARs, for instance, and somebody pulls out his 30-06 or his 338. So when I've got my Howard lights and I'm in that range, I put foam earplugs in under them, but still that concussive force every time that round goes off just is very distracting. But I feel it so very much in my my headset because it's just like clapping somebody on the ears. They're sitting there just pushing the force into my inner ear. So is the experience when you're in that concussive environment with just a custom molded headset or custom molded earplugs, is it different, or is that just the nature of the beast?
It's going to be the nature of the beast because basically those sound waves are concussing against your entire head. It's not just your Howard lights that you're wearing there. It's against your entire body. It's against your entire head. So you're still, whether you're in your Howard lights or our custom-made hearing protection, that percussion is still going to be there to a certain extent because that's percussion against your entire body and your entire head. So you're still going to kind of feel that. The difference that we're going to offer is Those filters are designed only to let 80 to 85 decibels in through that filter at any given time. So if 1 minute he's shooting a 9mm and he's at 130, 135 decibels from percussion from that 9mm, and he steps into a 30-06 or 30-30 or 40 caliber, and we're changing those decibel ratings. Again, that filter is only going to allow that 80 to 85 decibel range to enter in through and make contact with your ear canal. That's that percussion. The external force of that percussion is still going to be there. You're still going to feel that external percussion.
Now, I will tell you the reason I was wearing the foamies is because with just the Howard lights alone, it was not reducing the sound to a comfortable level. So, obviously that's a lot of strain to put on anything, but, the foam earplugs, even with as imperfect a seal as they made, still made all the difference. So I can't imagine that it even compares when it's a full seal like a custom fit set of earplugs.
Well, I'd be lying to you if I said, with the day and age of custom loads and people being able to reload and adjust that gunpowder, that guy that thinks he's putting 24 to 26 grains of powder in there, but he grabbed the wrong disc because it's one too many Bud Lights, and now he's dumping 40 or 45, and he gets out there and he goes to shooting and he can't figure out why his nose is bleeding or his ears are bleeding. It's still going to be there, guys. All these ranges are made differently. Some from straight concrete to cinder block, and you guys certainly know and can probably enlighten me on this, but not one range, indoor range from one to the other is going to have the same sound quality or percussion ratings on it. So you may go to one range and be able to wear ours in a closed position and feel just fine, and you may go to one that's a little bit different, a little bit constructed a little bit different, and then you found into Johnny Rocket that's loaded his own ammunition, and he's using twice what he needs to be using, and you're going to feel that need to maybe have that extra protection. That's always going to be there, but as far as what we're going to allow in your ears is 80 to 85 decibels again. That external percussion is going to differ from the guys, loads to what they're shooting. So that's kind of still going to be there.
Well, I think that's okay because you can move away from that.
Right.
Yeah. The problem is that the sound attenuation is the thing that to me is important. And I go back to that original statement of mine. I've lost enough of my hearing that I'm going to guard the remainder of my hearing very jealously. Make sure that I don't lose any more than I have to.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we're going to move away towards the first aid kit and help him get some bandages on those bleeding ears or bleeding nose from the percussion.
So, Jeff, I think we've covered the primary components of your line. So, do you want to cover the on-the-spot plugs? Because it seems to me that this is really something that you don't see as an ear protection solution that kind of bridges the gap between that custom, time-consuming, have to take time out of your day to do all the steps part, and what you're offering as pretty much we're going to try to address your needs when you can't do all of those things with us.
Absolutely. The on-the-spot product line that we offer, and again, if you take a look at precisionear.com and you download one of our brochures, or you just on the website there, the on-the-spot is you know, for that little bit higher budget, it's the same medical grade silicone. We're going to put an antimicrobial coating on there to allow, for protection from any type of mold or anything that could get on the earpiece. It's going to protect it from absorbing down into that medical grade silicone. But it's a baseline ear protection. It still is going to have just about the same noise reduction rating, a little bit more pliable of a medical grade silicone, and that's where we talk about those Defend Ear solids and the lights and some of the variations in that medical grade silicone. But
Right.
it's a baseline model. It's something that we do. We actually manufacture the earpiece. It's the same concept as far as the impression, except we don't take an impression. We actually inject the silicone into your ear, and then once we remove that, then we have to manufacture and manipulate that down to a little bit smaller piece. And it's the same concept as the Defend Ear, except for the solid ones. Again, the whole thing on the spot is we actually manufacture. We don't send that to a lab. It's designed for that cash and carry person that's there at a show or sees us at a gun show or sees us at an event or a fundraiser, or the NRA convention or the PRI event. That's that cash and carry person that has to walk out the door with them. And it goes back to what are you going to be using them for? And that's the first question that we ask. What are you going to use them for? How much are you going to use them? What's going to be your need? Are you going to be in a high industrial, or are you just going to be on a shooting range? And so, before any product that we look at, we want to figure out that exact need, because if you're going to be using them, for multiple shooting and industrial or at the house, maybe we need to look at that lab mold versus an on the spot. But
Right.
It's designed to have the same concept as far as the solid ones, what we call a continuous vent, which has that inline filter. The drawback to that is there's no protection, so if you're out on a windy day and it's wind, you're going to hear that wind drag across your ear a little bit. And then we move up into what we call a snap cap, which is a couple of dollars more, and it allows you to shut that off. Basically, like we talked about on the convertible comms, we can take that from a vented plug to a solid plug. The only drawback that we have on that on the spot is we're not able at this time to add music to them. We have an on the spot line that is music, but it's pretty much wired the entire time. It's not designed yet to be removable, and that's something that we're working on is to be able to make that like the convertible comms and be able to put that on and take it off without affecting the usability of the earpiece.
Well, Jeff, I think that we might have very well made you exhaust all your knowledge about everything that you guys sell when it comes to firearms hearing protection. Is there anything that we haven't asked you about that you'd like to tell us about, or have we tired you out with all of our questions?
Guys, that's you said it. We talked about it. There's the broad spectrum when it comes to this. There's certainly the customability of colors. We can swirl multiple colors and cat eyes, and vary the filters that are in them, and make them with communications or without. I think the only thing that we haven't talked about is one product that we have. It's called True Customs, and that's again a custom earpiece that has interchangeable filters. You can buy a kit of filters, and it has variance ranges, as far as decibel reduction or noise reduction ratings of 15, 20, and 25. That's a great multi-purpose. The only thing is we haven't been able to put that into the shooting arena as of yet. We're still working on that technology, but if you need something for the house, for the office or work or concerts, it's a multi-range plug that kind of covers everything other than the shooting that we've kind of hit on here and there throughout. But take a look at our website, precisionear.com. Take a look at that website. If you have any questions, if we get I've seen it all. I've seen the guys that have had the multiple ear surgeries. I had a guy at a show that came up to me and he says that he has to take three entire sets of foamies and pack them into one of his ears and top of it because he had surgeries when he was a little kid, and this is back in the day when it wasn't perfected. And he said, "Can you do anything for me?" And I said, "Sit down and take a seat and let me take a look." And I looked in his ear, and I couldn't believe the size of his ear canal was as big as my thumb. And he had two ear canals, one the standard, and then one that they had constructed for him. And I looked at him. I said, "I don't know. I can try this." And I packed a bunch of stuff in there, and we made him an earpiece. And when he walked away, he was just overwhelmed at being able to put that in and get better protection from that than he was his 3 sets of foamies in his can. So the customability that we have, we want all of our customers, your listeners, to know that whatever your needs are, we're here to work with you to build that custom piece from size and color and filter and all the things that we've talked about. We're here to work with you. We're going to make sure that you're happy. We're going to make sure that it's the best, most comfortable, attenuating hearing protection that you've ever had. And just know that it's going to last a lifetime. You're never going to have to get another set as long as, like we said, you don't lose it. But we're here to work with you. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at jeff@precisionear.com or call me. My contact numbers is on there. Give me a call. Tell me what your needs are. Tell me if it's your better half that snores too loud, or your son or daughter that needs some swimming plugs or some sleep plugs, or that brand new Harley that you bought, or the shooting plugs. Whatever your needs be, we're here to help, and we just want to protect one ear at a time.
All right. And so the best way for any of the listeners to get a hold of you is at your email address. Do you have a web store open at this time?
We do. That's something we're looking through a couple different web-based store product lines, and we've come on one. If you were to go on our website right this second, you'd see a little bit of issue with that. But we're working hard to get that worked out. We're working with Ryan Cross there, at the Radio Firearms Network. He does some web design and stuff, and he's done a phenomenal job for us. I can't thank Ryan enough for his brochures and the website that he's created for us. But we've got a little work to do on that. So if you have any questions, any problems, any concerns, you're not seeing it on our website, you think it's something that you heard about or may have thought you heard on the show here, give me a call. We're going to answer all your questions. We're going to work this thing from the impression all the way to the finished product with you. No problem.
And we want to remind our viewers too that we did do a video product highlight. So be sure to check out the AR-15 podcast YouTube page to watch the very short version as we run through all of the fabulous products and get to see a lot of visuals of all the products as well. So if you're listening to us on audio, make sure you check that out when you get back to your PC or when you are not driving, of course, and are able to take a look at it on your phone.
Well, with that, Jeff, we want to thank you for joining us, and listeners, you heard it here. If any of you have a question, or if you are just eager to get out there and buy something, the website is www.precisionear.com. And Jeff at precisionear.com is your first contact for anything you want to know and any questions you have. Jeff, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, guys. I look forward to getting that do-it-yourself kit out to you and getting that hearing protection in your guys' ears and getting back to your customers and letting you guys tell them firsthand how great this stuff is. So thanks for having me on. Take a look at us there at precisionear.com. Call us, email us, let us help you in any way that we can. Thanks again for your time, and go AR-15 podcast. You guys rock.
All right. Well, we'll be back in just a sec to get some feedback covered. Thanks again, listeners. So, Anthony, that was an outstanding interview. I think Jeff's got a great product there. We're excited to see big things from Prevision Ear, so we're going to keep our eye on them for you guys. In any case, that brings us to a couple of housekeeping topics that I'm sure some of our listeners are eager to have us cover. And of course, we wait until after the good stuff to talk about it. So, we have a new winner. Unfortunately, our first name did not respond to us. We contacted her at all the familiar places that she told us about, and there just wasn't any response. So we've gone on to our second place, our first runner-up. Isn't that what they call it? If they were
first runner-up.
America,
Yep.
First runner-up is John Wind. Wind like a big gust of. And John, you are the winner of the AR-15 podcast. And you yourself will have until January 8th to get in touch with us and let us know how we can get this rifle to you. So, John, we're going to send you an email, and we sure hope you get back to us.
Yeah, now, Reed, did you just equate our rifle giveaway with the with the beauty pageant?
No. I equated some of our listeners to beauty pageant contestants.
Beauty pageant. Okay. All right.
All right, so John, congratulations. You may have thought that you weren't going to win it since we already gave it away to Jennifer, but hey, Jennifer didn't call us, didn't contact us, wouldn't respond to us, so I guess we're mud as far as Jennifer's concerned.
Yeah, what a shame.
Get the benefit. Yeah,
That's right.
I know. Well, John, get a hold of us. We'll get a hold of you. Don't be Jennifer. All right. Feedback. Looks like we got a big slate of mail to go over tonight, but I think that this first one ought to be yours, Anthony.
That works for me. So I'm going to read this to you guys. We got this wonderful little piece of feedback over on Livefire. Sir Gilligan writes into us. He says, "Thank you very much for mentioning my app, Gunlog SPC. If you guys remember, we talked about his app on our there's an app for that show. As mentioned, Gunlog SPC does not use iCloud, and your data is only on your device. The app does not, nor ever will, take any of your data and send it somewhere else, which, as I mentioned, that was one of the wonderful things that I loved about it. The Gunlog apps are first and foremost range logs. You have to have your inventory of firearms and ammunition to make a good range log, so the app is also an excellent inventory app. The app tracks failures, firing sets, maintenance, all and more. I also wrote a G1 ballistics calculator to help you get on paper. I wrote all the code. There are no third-party libraries in the app at all. With that said, that is the reason there is no barcode scanner. I did not want to use a third-party software tool to read barcodes without knowing the barcode scanner library isn't harvesting data. So that's a very good point. He used self-written code, so it makes it very, very secure. You can read all about the app here, and his URL for that is gunlogspc.blogspot.com. He goes on to say, I would love to give Mr. Hardy some free downloads of Gunlog SPC that could be shared with your audience. If he will contact me, the contact info is in the app, and I'll hook him up so he can hook you up. And there's only me, one programmer, no one else. I do this on the side. So we did that. We got in touch with Sir Gilligan, and he gave us some codes that we can pass on to you, our lovely listeners. So, Reed, how are we going to have them enter this little giveaway?
Well, I think that in keeping with our efforts to expand the AR-15 podcast's presence on the internet, we're creating some social media sites so that we can connect with you guys in a more direct fashion. So, in order to get a code for the app, we want you to go and like the AR-15 podcast Facebook page for an opportunity to have us reply to your like. Is that the way it is? I'm so social media illiterate. Reply to your like, we'll send you a PM, and we'll give you a code. So go on over to the AR-15 podcast Facebook page and like us.
In order to get to that, you can either visit AR15podcast.com and find the Facebook page link there. Go to the show notes for the AR15podcast.com episode 103, and you can find the link there. And we should be able to get you guys over. Make sure you get us a like, and we'll get those codes out to you guys so you can get it on iTunes. It is an iTunes-only app, so that's only for Apple users, but I think you guys will really like that.
All right, so I'm going to handle the next one here.
Yep.
Arturo, one of our frequent, contributors, wrote in and wanted to know if we have had 10 listeners contact us about SHOT Show. Well, Arturo, we have 2 now, officially, between you and I believe it is Mike R. So Mike is in if we're going to have one. We're 20% there. Well, I guess we'd be 40% there if we included me and JW. So we might go ahead and just do that, and that would be okay. So, Arturo, that's where we are. Listeners, if you can get out to Las Vegas during the week of SHOT Show, and we have enough interest, we would be happy to sit down and have a frosty beverage with any number of you that would like to come out and just meet and greet and see what it is to see the very ordinary and normal hosts and co-hosts that bring this podcast to you every week. So there you go. There you have it. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and take Pete here, Anthony. So our next feedback is from Pete. He says, hey guys, finally getting caught up on podcasts, ARP-097, and thought I would send a picture of this monstrosity I saw at the 2014 Chicago Gun Show. He says it's like playing Where's Waldo trying to find the muzzle from the front. Still loving the podcast, and it's really great how the show has progressed in quality and content. Thank you, Pete. We really do appreciate it when we get a couple pats on the back. You know, we're very much like little puppies when it comes to that. All you have to do is give us a scratch behind the ear, and we'll keep doing everything that we've been.
Yes, thank you.
So he says, I'd love to hear what Patriot Ordnance Firearms is going on if you guys see them at SHOT Show. He says, don't recall you guys ever mentioning them. Really a very solid gun. I've owned one for a while. Mine is the 18-inch version, fluted barrel, button rifle, piston gun with a really nice POF trigger. I will have to tell you that I do have a POF lower in my race gun. I am as big a fan, I think, as you may be. Although, of course, I built my own. I'm kind of addicted that way. I think there's a 12-step program. I'm going to avoid it as long as possible. In any case, he goes on to say his rifle is very accurate, low muzzle rise, and allows faster follow-up shots than any other AR he's shot. He says the only downside of the rifle is weight, pretty noticeable, especially after a full day of shooting and lugging around from stage to stage. So he says, your show inspired me to build an AR on my own, and am really glad I did. Decided to do a lightweight version, unlike the POF. I went with a Rock River 2-stage based on a friend's advice. Not my cup of tea. Feels more like excess creep more than anything else, and don't really like the longer reset. You know, I am kind of a of the same opinion of that two-stage trigger. Really, I'm a Geisley guy, and of course, I haven't had an opportunity to shoot many other triggers, but certainly, if you have some recommendations, listeners, I will be happy to follow up on those at SHOT Show. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, Pete. So he says, I don't get the fascination with those. Anyway, I will end up replacing with a POF single stage again. A big fan, very crisp. Keep up the great podcast. Pete, thank you. We really appreciate hearing from the listeners who want to share and want to just kind of keep us motivated to keep giving you guys good quality content. All right. Anthony, you want to take the next one here?
Yeah, so our next piece comes from Mike R. out around the Skagit shooting range out in Washington. He says back to us, Reed, Anthony, and JR, what a great show as always. And you bring a great element. You all bring a great element to the podcast. So we do appreciate that, Mike. Love to hear that positive feedback. First of all, he says, why the heck don't Rick and his team, speaking about Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead, of survivors, use suppressors all the time? It frustrates me on so many levels. First, those walkers are attracted to sound. Second, your hearing. I'm thinking it's really important to have great hearing in the zombie apocalypse. I'd love to see a 300 blackout SPR suppressed. Those 220 SMKs must do wonder on The Walking Dead. Yes, I agree, 150%. I don't know why they don't use suppressors all the time. We go back in, was it the opening of Season 2, I think it was, and they had the suppressors, like homemade suppressors, looked like flashlights. They turned into homemade suppressors. Like, man, find yourself a gun store somewhere and raid the cabinet. It's the end of the world. The ATF is not going to come looking for you after the zombie apocalypse, so it's fine. Mike goes on to say, all right, I must admit, after hearing you guys talking about getting to the range, well, I get to the range several times a week, but I don't get to shoot as much as I'd like to because I work there. That's awesome. Crazy as it may seem, I have to force myself to get out there to shoot, and I have 50-plus guns in the rental counter if I don't want to shoot and clean mine. Wow, that's nice. I heard about some of the topics coming up. Can't wait. Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that, Mike. We always like to know we're giving you guys the things you want to be listening to. He says, can you talk about headspace again and your experience with headspacing your new build ARs? I have not headspaced any of mine yet. I'm always interested in hearing technical information about the ARs, springs, triggers, where to lube, etc. Perhaps a maintenance performance tip of the week segment? SHOT Show meetup? He's in. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all are open for him. So great. That's absolutely fabulous. Thanks, and thanks for calling in and writing into us, Mike.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think this commentary will become relevant in another upcoming podcast once it gets here, because of course we're recording some early content for you guys, but working at a range is almost like having your own, isn't it? So the last one here is from Ken. Ken writes in a lengthy letter, and so I'm going to summarize because it really is an in-depth, detailed, expression of Ken's journey into his first build. I think it's a good read, but basically Ken, like we have suggested, got in, decided to build a rifle. He took extreme steps to make sure that he was saving up for good quality equipment and parts, decided to go with an M16A1 build, and from that pretty much modeled identically the rifle that was in existence before the A2 modifications. So we've seen a picture, and I think it is almost an exact duplicate, although I'm not quite sure the stocks say that they're made by Mattel anymore. In any case, he does mention that with the A1 stock, it's a little short, and I do believe the A1 stock is shorter than the A2 stock. So, and Ken mentions that when he grips his rifle, that his second knuckle sticks out past the trigger, and his trigger finger is bent at an uncomfortable angle to get the ball of his finger on the trigger. I'm thinking that Ken has some very, very large hands. He does mention that he doesn't see how the AR is going to ever replace his Marlin 3030, and really, is there any rifle that can replace the Marlin 3030?
Nope.
So that's a good point, Ken. In any case, Ken, you talk about wanting to try to build an AR-10 with a 24-inch 7mm 08 barrel, and I've got to tell you that I don't think you're going to have any problems with how your barrel and your upper mate together, but I will tell you that the longer barrel will not have any effect on your gas system or your dwell time. As of course on the longer barrels you're not going to extend past a rifle length gas system, and the rifle length gas system is what the rifle is designed for. The fact that there is a bullet still in the barrel as it's traveling those extra 4 inches of length is going to do nothing to the ability of that rifle to effectively and consistently cycle. So don't worry about that. Finally, he sends in a picture of his dad holding the AR-15 they built, and well, it's a very interesting picture. I got to tell you, your dad looks a little bit intimidating there. So, in any case, Ken, we do thank you for writing in. It's a great read. When you guys get to the show notes, browse through Ken's note. I think he really kind of expresses patience as a virtue when it comes to building an AR if you can't just plop down tons of cash. And I'm telling you, that's the best way to do it. Be patient, get what you want, and then build a rifle that you really, really have your heart set on. So Ken, thanks for that. Well, Anthony, I think that's another show.
Yes, sir.
So why don't you go ahead and read us out?
Yep. So as always, guys, we're interested in you sending us feedback. We've gotten a lot of wonderful feedback, and want to make sure we continue to get that. And you can send that to feedback@ar15podcast.com. You can also send us messages on Facebook, and you can find a link in the show notes to our Facebook page, et cetera, et cetera. We can also send feedback to the recorded voicemail by using the SpeakPipe plugin on the right-hand side of the AR-15 podcast website. Of course, as always, you can subscribe and listen to the AR-15 podcast for free in audio form at firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. Make sure, if you're doing it that way, to send us an iTunes review or a review on the Stitcher app. That helps us move up in our placement rankings on iTunes, etc., and helps us get better content for you guys to be able to listen to. And you've been doing that for us lately, and we are able to bring you some really great content, some really wonderful interviews this month. You can share your pictures with us on Facebook or over on Flickr at flickr.com/groups/Black Rifle. Follow us on Google Plus at firearmsradio.tv/plus. And you can check out our YouTube page at youtube.com/firearmsradio with a new AR-15 page to come in the near future. Follow FRN on Facebook at facebook.com/firearmsradio and pick up our show along with all the other wonderful shows that are on the Firearms Radio Network. And check out all the other podcasts while you're there. Don't forget to use our Brownells affiliate link for all of your AR-15 parts. By going to ar15podcast.com/parts, you can pick up the product of the week, that GI style sling. For all of your other needs outside of firearms-related stuff, we all shop on Amazon, so make sure you use the Amazon affiliate link on the firearmsradio.tv website, or head on over to firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. You'll be directed over to the Amazon website directly, and we'll get a very small portion of the already same price that you would be paying Amazon anyway. So just lets Amazon know that you're a listener of ours, and that helps us get all of our bills paid. And that's it, guys.
Well, outstanding. We hope you enjoyed tonight. Let us know what you think about the show. And of course, since we're trying it a little different this time, bear with us, but feedback is always helpful. Thanks again. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.